Good morning, everyone. Hope you are enjoying this beautiful Thursday morning. On behalf of my chamber colleagues and myself, thank you for joining us for the virtual edition of the Business Builders Breakfast. We hope that you're grabbing breakfast wherever you're at, and we have a great program for you today. With so many of us working remotely, this presentation couldn't be more timely today. We are thrilled to have Michelle Gnida with us. At this time, I want to thank our sponsors of the Business Builders Breakfast. They help make it possible. Our ultimate sponsors, Diamond Joe Casino, Dubuque Bank and Trust, Holiday Inn, Hotel Julian, IBM, Medical Associates, Midwest One Bank, Q Casino Tag, and the Telegraph Herald. So Michelle Gnida is an area manager and master trainer for Dale Carnegie. And today she is going to really provide for us a engaging and productive seminar on hosting virtual meetings. Michelle partners with organizations as a consultant and trainer to accelerate their progress to realizing their strategic goals. Michelle serves on the board of directors for the Grant Wood area chapter of the American Red Cross. Michelle lives near Solon with her husband Andy and 3 kids, Louie, Zeb, and Eleanor. She's a graduate of University of Iowa with a degree in business. In her spare time, she enjoys water skiing and competing in local triathlons. Go, Michelle. She also teaches Sunday school at Solon United Methodist Church for 5th and 6th grade students. It is my honor to welcome Ms. Michelle Gnida. Michelle, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We're going to start right off by taking a look at a video of what could happen on Zoom. And so can you see the video right now? Whoops, I think I have my drawing tools on. So if somebody, if
yes, you can see
or
the video.
Ellen can tell me, you can see the video. Okay, great,
yes.
Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and play this, and please let me know you can hear it too.
Need to go up a little bit.
Okay. Whoops, I'm echoing, so I think, there we go. I just want to make sure, Ellen, can you tell me, or Justine, can you hear me okay now that I switched it back?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great. So who can relate to what we just saw right there? Someone can jot down in the chat, or even if I could have a few hands raised. Justine, are you seeing some of that? Oh, okay, I see some people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got Reese is saying yes. Gary.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty easy these days to just jump right into these meetings and not really know how to do things in order to keep people engaged and have everything working. So many times the distractions are taking over. So what I'm hoping today will do is to give us an idea of how we can work this a little bit better. Okay. All right, so Justine, can you see my screen now?
Yep, just have to put it in presentation.
Okay, there we go.
Good to go.
Okay, so what we're going to look at today are just some tips and tools. We can't actually practice in the limited amount of time we have right now. We can't practice everything, but we'll talk through a bunch, and if you have any other questions, please just let me know. I've worked through 4 different platforms in these meetings before, so I know all of them to some extent, and some of them really, really well, like WebEx and Zoom especially. Okay, so benefits and challenges of virtual meetings in the chat. Everyone, please jot down at least 1 or 2 challenges that you've run into when it comes to leading these virtual meetings. I should say leading and participating in virtual meetings. So everyone, one or two ideas.
People over talking each other, not knowing whose turn it is to speak. See what else pops up here. Background noise. Exhausted by the end of the day. Sound quality.
Yeah,
Lag in the
Justine,
Wi-Fi.
thank you, Justine. Just so you know, I'm not seeing all the group in the chat still. It's kind of weird, but
There's a lag in the Wi-Fi, not using mute, and not knowing how to use the software.
yeah, yep, no doubt. Okay, let's go to some of those benefits now. Everyone jot down in the chat, what are some benefits?
No travel time, less travel, not spreading COVID.
Yeah, yep. How about some benefits that are so beneficial that we may keep utilizing it? Get to wear sweatpants and no one knows. Yep.
The availability of files for file sharing.
Yeah, nice.
More time to prep rather than travel. And still keeping a personal connection.
I found that the chat is one. So the chat, a whiteboard, being able to share videos, so much of that is something that people have appreciated enough that I wouldn't be surprised if we end up continuing to utilize this a little bit more than we have in the past.
You're able to see and connect more often with people in other offices and cities.
Yep. That's right where I was going to go. Actually, I do work virtual. My boss is in Minneapolis, and we have offices around 5 states actually, and so this is something we've been utilizing for a while, and it works really well. All right, great. So let's take a look at what are some ways that we can engage more in virtual meetings. Now, one is when you're having a meeting, welcome people in by name, right? Why is it important to utilize people's names? Again, if a couple of people could just jot some things down in the chat or even raise your hand. Any hands being raised, Justine? Why would we want to call people by name?
We've got 2 people saying adds a personal connection, and it makes it known that they can be seen.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt.
Makes it more personable.
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, we want, and actually, we do have people talking over each other in some of our training, and for the most part, when you see people talking, when you can see, we usually have it so you can see everybody's face during the meetings. And what happens then is you can see when people are talking. And so if people end up talking over, then you would just say, you'd say something like, okay, Justine, go ahead and go first. And then we'd say, Sharon, you're next, and then Reese. And then you just go bing, bing, bing to everyone. So you have everyone communicating. And that's part of the reason why we'll go right to this, is you want to link people's phones to their names. As the leader, that in most of the platforms, you can do that. Even if it pops up their phone number, I usually use my phone and the computer. I find that it ups the odds that I'll stay connected. And knock on wood, I have to knock on wood here. I have so far stayed connected for all meetings. And then it's easier to call people out and link people by name. All right, then, and Dale Carnegie's sixth principle is remember that a person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Okay, level the playing field. And this can mean different things. And in this situation, what we're saying is that so many times you can have one room that has 5 people in it and then have a few people that are on Zoom. This used to happen to me all the time. And I would be up, like there'd be a meeting in Minneapolis where there's like 10 people, literally, it could be up to 10 people. And then I would be one of 3 that would be on Zoom on the screen. And what would happen is that they would all start laughing because they're all in their own meeting, right? They have their own funny conversation that's going on. And then me and the other 2 people, were left out of that funny conversation. And it was pretty hard to get a word in also in those meetings. So one thing that has been changed is that they're leveling the playing field. And if at all possible, everyone is on their own computer, even if they're all in the office, so that you don't have that happening. Now with me, I was fine with it. It probably didn't get as many ideas from us. And there may be some people who really feel left out as a result of that. So it doesn't promote that feeling of everyone being in it together and the engagement. So if anyone ever has thoughts, please jot them down in the chat. And Justine, you just go ahead and interrupt me. All right? I'd love to hear what people are saying.
Sounds good.
Okay, and now we just talked about this too. We need to be diligent about muting and unmuting. Now, whatever platform you are using, you can Google how do I mute and unmute. I know on Zoom, people are pretty excited because you can be muted, and then you can push down the space bar while you're talking, and then let up on the space bar, and it will unmute you while you're talking, and then mute you again. And then even on Zoom, I know it'll pop up if you're trying to talk when you're still muted. There'll be a pop-up that shows. In WebEx and in GoToWebinar, it is really nice to have a Justine, right? To have somebody who's a producer. In fact, we have people that are trained. I'm a digital trainer for Carnegie and have been for years. And you have to go through a qualification in order to be certified to do that. It's the same thing with a producer. I am not certified as a producer. But you need to have it, and you need to have some practice time. So Justine and I got on here, and Ellen also last Friday, I believe it was, and we practiced a little with it to make sure we're on the same page. Okay, open in a compelling way. So in the chat, what are some ideas on how you can open in a compelling way? And you'll notice it is fine to have a pause. A lot of times people feel like every second needs to be filled, and you don't. You can have a pause and give people a chance to think. So Justine, are any ideas popping up on how to open in a compelling way?
No, I think that's probably why they're here. They probably need to know.
So you can even steal, how did we open today? That's one way, one example. And again, use Google, use that internet machine. There's lots of ideas out there as well.
We have Justin Stinson, he is with I'm on Communications, and he is a part of our B2B group. He said dad jokes, which he does for our B2B group meetings.
Yeah, so and videos, and right now there's, you can Google and find pictures of, comics, funny pictures of, like, there's Zoom jokes that are going around. Just like when you normally communicate or present, you could look up normal openings. The ones I like, you could have quotes You can tell a story. Open up by telling a story, which most of us have. I almost shared one today where all of a sudden people in the room started laughing in the Zoom room. Again, we can all see each other's faces during our trainings, and a couple of people started laughing, and sure enough, someone walks by in the background, right? And it was funny, and so you can probably guess why. So we've had those stories lately too. I know some of them go crazy on YouTube, right? But if you have some sort of a story, that is a compelling way to open. So be creative with these. I know even with United Way, one that opening that they've used in the past, when they go, their loan execs go out to raise money in organizations, is a question. They'll ask, who here knows the average age of a homeless person in Cedar Rapids? And I think it's similar in Dubuque as well. And most people guess 30 or 20, and it is 9. So I would be willing to bet in Dubuque it's 9 or 8 also, the average age of a homeless person. Right? And that grabs people's attention. So some sort of a question like that as well. So everyone in the chat, let's go ahead and get everyone in there. Give us an idea of, or based on what you just heard, what is something that you may use for a compelling opening the next time you have a meeting?
So Michelle, this is Molly. I have a question.
Yeah.
So opening in a compelling way, I love this. Does that apply to both the introduction and the start? I mean, because we always introduce whoever's speaking. So should the compelling way apply to the intro and the presenter, or is that overkill?
It can, as long as it's clear and concise, right? I wouldn't have too long openings. And I'd say of the two, it's more important for the presenter, right? Because you could have the intro and then have it go, right? And go down and people start spacing out. I mean, you heard it in the challenges, right? We have so many things that can be distracting us right now. So if we start out, then we've lost people. When we are presenting live, then at any given time, 40% of our audience isn't listening. So imagine how much higher it is.
Great. I love the tip on the compelling, because it grabs their attention. And no, we always, from a Chamber of Commerce standpoint, when we have speakers, want to take there's certain things that we have to do. We want to make sure that we provide the bio and we recognize sponsors. So what I hear you saying is it's more important to do the housekeeping that we need to do in the intro and let the presenter take the compelling opening.
Yeah, yep. And you can also think of fun ways to do it too, right? Be creative, try different things, see what happens, practice.
We had someone say, tell a story that relates to the meeting in some way.
Yep, good. Especially if you think about what's the purpose of the meeting. So many times those, if you tell a personal story and then wrap it up with how, connect it to the purpose of the meeting. Okay, so everyone make a commitment. If you don't have a sheet of paper and a pen in front of you, you may want to grab one at some point so that you can jot down some ideas. And then also have an agenda. Now you can share this agenda now because you can normally on all of these, whether it's Skype, GoToMeeting, WebEx, or Zoom, you can share your screen. You'll want to practice that. And you can pull up the agenda. Even if you don't pull it up though, as we know, then there's value in having that agenda. Don't talk for more than 90 seconds at a time. And again, this is more of a presentation than it is a meeting, so I'm breaking this rule. In meetings, we want to be concise. Why in the chat, if a couple of people could give us some ideas, or even someone raised their hand, why is it important to only talk for 90 seconds at a time? hear Justine
Typing away,
typing
making
it
sure
in there.
sees the question.
Yep. Love it. And that is what Justine is doing, is exactly what you want someone doing. Typing. Always have that chat up, have it going, have them typing in there.
We've got people's attention span gives everyone a chance to ask a question. People will zone out and with what you're saying and get distracted. And again, attention span.
Yep. Nice. I know my boss for a long time, he even had like a timer that was there, a timer or something like that just kept him going. I know I use my timer while I'm facilitating actual programs, and we're all up and moving and communicating and in breakout rooms. Then I usually use my phone, and I'll tell you I need to find another way, because I have to click through so much to get to the timer. So I've been looking at other timers, but find something that works. Keep your slides and points. Did somebody have a question, Justine?
No, Tom O'Brien just also shared, others want to talk and they will lose interest if they don't feel a part of the meeting.
Oh, so true. So true. And that was Tom who said that?
Tom O'Brien.
Thanks, Tom. Tom O'Brien. Thank you. Yep, and Tom just bridged us right into the next one too, then, didn't he? Is to keep your slides and points simple. Our guideline with Carnegie is a 6x6 rule. So your actual slides during your meetings, 6 words, 6 bullet points, no more than that. And actually, it's seldom we even have that many. And I know that's hard. I work a lot with engineers, and it can be tricky. All right. Did you have a thought, Justine?
No, that just made me chuckle.
Yeah. Yep. I continually go to chats, polls, whiteboards. I'll tell you a story. We have Dale Carnegie programs. So we had one in Dubuque, and we had 3 meetings that were live, and then all of this happened, and we went to Zoom then. And by the end, there's 8 meetings total, and by the last meeting, we always invite supervisors to join us at the final meeting, so that they can see the changes and the efforts and the enhanced skills that all the participants have made. And in this last one, then, which would have been 2 weeks ago today, actually, had more than one supervisor say how much they love the chat, because the chat is continual. It's consistently, people are responding to what other people are saying and giving appreciation and recognition in that chat. And the supervisors just loved it. Not only because it was giving the person who was reporting that recognition, but because you can see what's in other people's minds. And so the chat and these polls and these whiteboards are benefits that are a lot more difficult in the real world. I always said, after I started doing these virtual meetings, these virtual presentations and facilitating, that I wish I could make everyone a bunch of laminated emojis, so they could just, if they have a question or they're confused or they're excited, they could, and have them all on a stick, so they could just put them up in the air, so you can know more what's going on, because that's definitely an advantage these virtual meetings, and see what's happening and have some fun with it too, and the drawings. And so get on and practice some of these. Be creative, have some fun. Oh, and with that, I will say also, so like, for example, if you're utilizing Zoom, then you may not have the whiteboard or the breakout meeting unless you go to settings beforehand. And then it's really, really simple. But if you go to settings beforehand, then you can click a bunch of these things on. And it may also depend what you have. Like with GoToWebinar, like we're on right now, they also have a training one. So you may need the GoTo training. You may not. Again, go back to Google and Google how to, and it pops up, and it is simple. Call on people and generate crosstalk. one suggestion I have is ask a question, have the ideas in the chat, and then just call on someone from the chat. Right, so we've already had this happen, like with Molly has given a few ideas, and of course I'm always talking with Justin, and Justin mentioned Tom's name. So many times you may even say, so Tom, can you expound on what you jotted in the chat? Just to give some ideas, to get some people talking. So what is the value of having that crosstalk? Let's just have a few ideas in the chat. Why do we want to generate crosstalk? Thanks, Justine.
No problem. Increases buy-in.
Yeah, no doubt.
So increased buy-in from Lauren, and then Terrence said makes the meeting more personable.
And who said that, Taryn?
Terrence.
Terrence. All right. Okay, Terrence, would you be willing to give us a little bit more of an idea? Why do we want it to be more personable? Can we take Terrence off mute?
Yes, I just did.
Hi.
It makes the meeting feel like it's more of a instead of being one-on-one, it includes more people in there. And with that, it makes the meeting, I feel like you'd get more information out of the people that are actually inside the meeting.
Yeah, nice. Good, thanks, Terrence. Okay, any other ideas in the chat there, Justine?
None popping up. I would just add that it makes, when you're not working directly in person with your team, it makes you feel more a part of your team by having everyone's voice heard.
Yeah. Good. And why these days, so go ahead and jot this in the chat also. Why these days do we want that? Why do we want people to feel more a part of the team? I can hear you.
Because good people stay.
What was that?
I said because good people stay when they feel like they're part of the team.
Yeah, yep, no doubt. Thanks, Barry.
People are feeling more isolated and disconnected right now.
Yeah.
And Anna Rowling says being inclusive, leaning in.
Okay, Anna, would you mind coming off mute and giving us, expanding on that a little bit for us?
Sure. I'm just, some people might not be as comfortable normally just jumping into a conversation. So just making sure you're getting everybody's thoughts and opinions, making the conversation more inclusive and hearing all that information from everybody.
Yep. Yeah, I second that. And it could be many reasons, right? It could be confidence. I know when we've had a couple of Zooms. On Sunday at 4 o'clock, I have a friend their daughter's graduating from college or graduated on Friday, right? Which, there's no events. So, and then it was her birthday. And so we had a Zoom. And she had her cap and gown and everything on, right? And so we said congratulations. And it's so tricky because it's really 3 people that talk the whole time. And even for me, it's hard for me to interrupt because I feel like I'm interrupting, right? We're just so polite in the Midwest. So that's a very good point. We need to be aware of that and get that interaction. Yep. And you can even tell when people talk by their tone of voice, how they're feeling more so versus what's jotted down in the chat. And here's something else to throw out there is that we think and discover as we talk or as we type or as we write. So if we want people to learn, then it's essential. Okay, great. Plus, it's fun, right? That's how we have fun. That's how we laugh in the trainings and the meetings and enjoy ourselves, is because you have that crosstalk. Okay, so let me go here. We have one more here. Record the meeting and send it out. And there's many reasons for this. First, one person could miss it, right? You can miss the meeting, not be able to make it, or miss it. I know there's been times where I miss a specific part. There's even times like when the people started laughing, I missed why they were laughing. So you can go back and check that out. But it's mainly so everybody is on the same page. Okay, and you can go back too and see how you sounded. I know yesterday, maybe it meant 2 days ago, I was in a meeting and it was I don't know if it was global, but it was all of the United States with Dale Carnegie around a specific, actually it was a lot like this, what we were talking about, a specific question. And they asked my inputs on something and I was echoing in my ears. So I literally took off my headset like that and was talking like this, but I could still hear myself. So I thought, oh, I should have just said no, that I wasn't going to talk because it was so hard to talk because I was echoing in my brain. And so afterwards I went and listened to how it sounded. It didn't sound bad. It didn't sound good, but it didn't sound bad. So you can coach yourself too. So of all of these here, let's just take a pause and jot down one of two things. One, what are you most excited about applying from these? So like, for example, don't talk for more than 90 seconds at a time. That's what I'm going to do in the next meeting. So everyone jot down one of those that you're most excited about utilizing. And let's have everyone. So that means I believe we have 24 people here, and then 5 staff, which probably includes me too. So what are you most excited about applying?
Etiquette from Mr. Barry
Okay.
Gentry.
All right, and what do you mean by that? Oh, stop talking?
Well, it's easier when you can see people like on their camera, because I've always told the team to raise your hand so we can see you, then we know you have a question. But if it's all audio, that's really tough.
Yeah. Yep.
Terrence said using the chats.
So
Lauren.
fun, Terrence.
Yep, Lauren, record the meeting and send it out. Tom said ideas about focus, open in a compelling way and have an agenda and keep points simple. Arlene shared welcoming people by name. And then Tom also shared, I also think it's important to appoint a leader. I'm going to do this with family. Everyone talks at once.
Yeah.
And then Molly shared,
Yep.
all of this is great. I need to apply all of it.
Yeah, and Tom, another thought, and maybe not with family, although it could be, is when we have an opening, it's also good to have some sort of a closing too. I mean, and it can be, oh, thanks, bye, right? But something so everybody knows, yep, time. Did somebody jot out a question also?
Barry said, should you allow time for people to intro themselves and the company they represent?
Ooh, guess what? I could just see the questions. Should you allow people to intro themselves? It depends on the purpose, Barry. If that's part of it, right? If networking is part of it, then yes. You can also, right? Now, if you think about how much time you have and the purpose and the priority of the meeting, just like everything else we do, right? What's the goal here of the meeting? How much time do we have, and where does introducing themselves fit in? If it is networking, I would think, yeah, it's pretty crucial. Even if it's innovating, just so we could see other persons where they're coming from, I'll tell you one thing I have done is I've had them put it in, like by their square in Zoom. I'll have them put in their name. So Barry Chamber. Yep. Good. So other questions on any of these before we move on? Anything that's bouncing around in your mind?
Just another comment from someone on the last question is calling on people directly. It's very easy for people to get lost in the background.
Yep, totally. And you know, one way, if you have some people that are kind of shy, then, or you know, aren't very confident, one way you can do that, a simple process, is think, write, share. So, like for example, it's a lot of what we're doing in the chat, right? And you could use the chat or you could not use the chat. So think about what's an example of a time when you can use the whiteboard, and then have everybody write it down. Go ahead and write that down. When can you use a whiteboard in order to engage people more in your meeting? And then, because it's written down, you can call on people and say, so, hey, Barry, so what did you jot down? Right? And you may not want to start with the person who's brand spanking new and nervous as all get out, right? But get them in there somewhere. You can also, I know, it's pretty much just innate in my mind now. When I see people, I can tell who has and hasn't spoken. But you could also have a list right there, print it out really big, and then have a Sharpie or a pen. That actually, you can have a pen where you just cross things off. I know I got, here, I'll show you guys, if everyone can see, I got these big Post-it notes, and they are a little bit more, but I am constantly, while I'm facilitating, jotting notes down on these. And then when I'm done, I'll rip it off and I'll stick it somewhere away from me, right? So that I know I'm done. So at the end, I'll look through them all and throw away the ones I can, and then I'll have the notes I need to remember. Yeah. I have a lot of Post-it notes right now. It looks like somebody had a question, Justine.
This was from Tom. He said, can you demonstrate the whiteboard? But I don't think we have the capability in GoToWebinar for that. So that would be another platform.
Yeah. Sorry about that, Tom. We worked on that, trying to figure it out on Friday and Tuesday and today. I even Googled it, but it doesn't look like this platform has that capabilities. If you do, though, normally how I do it is I pull it up ahead of time. I hope I'm not going on too many tangents. I'll pull it up ahead of time. I get on, pull up the whiteboard, and I'll put a question on the top of it. It's the same thing with the polls. There's polls. A lot of these have capabilities for polls. Also, I know GoToWebinar has that on the training one. And I know Zoom does too, and I know WebEx does. I'm not quite as familiar with Skype because I use that more for meetings and facilitating. But you can pull it up ahead of time and get the poll all ready. So that when you, and the same with the whiteboard, so then when you're ready for it, you just pull it up, and then people can go ahead and draw or put arrows, or like even on this, you can say, okay, put an arrow by the idea that you're most excited about, and you can see where the arrows are. So there's a lot that you can do. And if you want to call Tom, I can walk you through it like on Zoom pretty easily. I'd be more than happy to do that with anyone. Just a thought, I did have when we went, so I had 62 people between Cedar Rapids and Dubuque for this last program. We had the week of spring break off anyway. And so that week I scheduled, it was either 3 or 4 different Zoom practice meetings. And I scheduled a half an hour. Most of them took only 20 minutes. And then people chose which one they could be on if they weren't familiar with Zoom. And they got on and we just all practiced. So that when we were live, when it was time for the actual facilitation, then we could just jump right into things like the whiteboard. Now there's a few reminders that I always gave, right? click here, pull down here, here's an option. So any questions on that? Okay, so let's keep going here to some other ideas. Okay, so keys to maintaining presence through challenges. So when you read through these in the chat, please give me an idea of which are the ones that resonate with you the most. So jot in one or two that really resonate with you the most. Anything popping up there, Justine?
Not yet. Using conversational versus direct language.
Okay. And that
That's from
was
Justin. And actually, both Justin and Rob said that.
okay. All right. So Rob, would you be open to coming off of mute and giving us an idea of why you say that?
With what I do in my meetings with clients and prospective clients, I'm also oftentimes just trying to educate them, so it seems more one-sided, just trying to get more of their perspective on where they're at currently, what they know, what they're thinking and feeling about what I'm saying or what I've already said. So having more pauses and more interaction.
Yeah. Yep. Love it. Good.
And then Molly said she resonates with the place no, but however.
And why so, Molly?
Well, actually, I wanted to know more of what that meant.
Okay. Yeah. So how does it feel? And you guys can put this in the chat also. When somebody is communicating and then they say, but, however, what starts to happen? And it isn't always. Go ahead.
Feel dismissed.
I'm sorry, one more time.
But it feels like what you said didn't matter.
Yeah. Yep. So especially when we want to make sure we disagree in an agreeable way. In other words, we really don't want to we don't want to shut people down ever, or get people defensive. It's pretty hard, right? I mean, our goal is to keep the conversation open, and to be able. I mean, the goal is that you're able to have a conversation where everyone is. You could have 5 different points of view out of 5 people in the meeting, and you're still keeping it open and having this wonderful conversation. It's awesome. It's where we want to get to. And if we say, but, however, no, you're wrong, eye roll, any of that, it's going to shut people down.
Love that. So you could do yes and instead of no but.
Yes. Correct. And it also, as we know, it's how we say it. It's not just what we say. So, I mean, and this gets into what Dale Carnegie is really about, right? I know Barry doesn't want a commercial. It's why I do what I do, because it's the bottom line is we like the people and they're worthy and people deserve to be respected. And so it's not just what we say or how we say it, it's who we are as a person. And so in the meetings, if we stay that person who is going back to what Rob said, right? If we stay the person who is genuinely interested in other people, it will be easier to be conversational. Right? If we see people as individuals, as human beings before human doings, then it will be easier to be warm and friendly and to be inclusive, because we care about them as people. So that's You know, that's where we want to start, with our attitude. And then it's easier to not say but. Not that it's always easy. Because again, we're humans. We're always growing. Hey, sorry, I went on a soapbox. Sorry, Barry, went on a soapbox. Other thoughts on this, on what resonates? It is so important. Let me check my time here right now. It is so important these days to do this. This slide, it seems so simple and at the same time, if we're not in the right place when we start these meetings, it's going to be challenging. And more than ever, this is important because of, I believe, I'm trying to remember who said it, if it was Anna who said it earlier, that it's so easy to feel isolated these days. And bottom line, first off, as people, we don't want to isolate people, obviously. And then second, it's not the best way to do business. If we want to be productive and move forward, then we need to have a team that feels a part of the team. It's a pretty important slide. And it's fun. Again, give me a call if you have an idea, if you need ideas. Pick up How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie's book, or go to the website, download the Golden Book. Give you all kinds of different ways to make this stuff happen. All right, so here's just an example of what I might jot down as, like, if we had more time right now and we were able to go into breakout rooms, here's how I would do it. I would say, so in a moment, we're going to go into a breakout room. The first item on the agenda is to introduce yourself and decide who's going to be the facilitator by learning who has the oldest car, right? And you can choose whatever you want. You know, just figure out who took the vacation, the most recent vacation, or who has the most exciting plans for the weekend. You know, so you choose the person who's going to be the leader or the facilitator. And then the facilitator, this is what you do. You lead a discussion. Here are the 3 questions that you have. And you can keep the slide up, right? Sometimes it works on some platforms. Many times I'll send it ahead of time. A lot of times I'll put it in the chat. You could also do it on the whiteboard. You can, again, a lot of times I'll send it out ahead of time because it's a group that we meet multiple times. Or you can give people a chance to write it down. I've done that also. Give them a page in the manual and go ahead and write this down. So they have their questions. Usually give them a thought on what to do if they finish early. Most breakout rooms you can broadcast and you can join the different breakout rooms. So I'll go from breakout room to breakout room to breakout room. And they're all talking. It's awesome. It's awesome watching it because people step up and they chat. And then I usually have people at the last, I'll jump into the room with like a minute left and say, okay, you have a minute left. Decide who's going to be the reporter when you come back. I usually go with insights. I usually have them come up with one key idea. And what that means to most people is 1 to 3, which is fine. And then they come back and put it in the chat. And then I call out people that are in the chat. And again, you can have them jotted on the whiteboard. So you just get an idea of how this can work. Questions on that at all? Who has a specific question on how you might run a breakout room or a meeting, depending on how many people you have? Any questions popping up, Justine? I don't see any on my end.
Not currently. I think the only question, one of the things Molly just asked if GoToWebinar has a capability of doing the breakout rooms, but I think that's something.
You know what? I could not find it. There is a GoToWebinar training, and those do. You have to have the GoToWebinar training.
Okay.
Did you have another question, Molly?
No, thank you. We'll check that out.
Okay, yep. And then so you can do things. So here's my drawing tool to see how I can put an arrow, and you have, you know, you can highlight. Oh, I've never been very good at the whole drawing thing. Some people are really good at drawing on it, but yeah, mine not so much. And then you can erase it. You just have to make sure you go off of drawing mode too. Okay, this is the goal. This is what's always in my mind. And again, it's partly because of what I do. That, and it is interesting, on the person whose birthday was Sunday, she is the vice president of branding for GoDaddy, and one of my best friends. Oops, are you guys still here?
Yes, we can see you.
Oh, okay, something interesting. I just got a really interesting message in my ear. So it was before everybody else had joined the birthday graduation Zoom meeting at 4 o'clock on Sunday. And she said, how did it go? Because she had a couple of participants in there. And I said, you know, it went marvelous. It was awesome. We call it the graduation, the final meeting. And we have, you know, again, supervisors are there. I said it went really, really well. And she said, I'm surprised that people are being open. And you can create an environment pretty fast where people are open and they feel safe. I was amazed, especially with the Dubuque group. It was one of my best experiences ever with training, and it was on Zoom. They were very open, and it was because right now there's some serious issues that people are going through. So it's very relevant. So we give people an opportunity, and you follow these, especially that last slide, just like Rob said, with the conversational set of directive. It's amazing how much safety you can create in these rooms, these virtual rooms. It's cool. It's really cool. Okay, so in the chat, let's have everyone, since that is so important in today's world right now, jot down one action you're going to take to create a safer room, right? To increase the safety in your virtual meetings. And I'll give you a chance to write that in. Yeah, Justine, you worded it better than I did. Thank you. So, oh, good. Encourage conversation, feedback, nice. It can't even be an example, maybe, to ask a real question. What's the scariest thing that you're going through right now? What was something that you did on the weekend that made you feel very happy? Right? Anything that has emotion in it. A feel kind of question. Today's one of the leadership blind spots. We did a study probably about 2.5 years ago now. Time just flies. On what leadership blind spots are. And one of them continues to be that in today's world, people want authentic leaders. They want leaders to show emotion, that admit when they're wrong, that, you know, aren't perfect, but are real people. And that's a blind spot because not as many leaders are allowing their authentic self to be seen or getting rid of their facade as people want leaders to do it. That's why it's a blind spot.
Rob Reinert shared, everyone's input matters and is important.
Yep, you betcha, Rob. Good. So what else? Other ideas on what you're going to do? And then we'll get into, we should have about 5 minutes for questions. We'd have to go. So let's have at least one more idea. What you're going to do to create more safety in your virtual meetings.
I would just share, use positive language. It's hard enough not being able to read body cues, especially if you're not using a video chat. So just using positive language so no one takes offense when it's already a different circumstance having a meeting virtually versus in person.
Yep. Nice. Yeah, good job. Okay, so and if anyone has questions, then feel free to give me a call or send me out an email. This could go on for a long time. And FYI, one thing that I have not been doing as well, because I keep going to the question in the chat screen, is we should be looking at the right there, the camera instead of all over. Although it's fun to look at all the people too when they're up there. All right, so it looks like we have 4 minutes for questions. Who has the first question? If you raise your hand, we can even take you off mute.
You guys will be able to see the little hand icon that you can click to raise it. Michelle, my question is do you see an overall theme and something that people are consistently coming to you with when it comes to the problems they're having with virtual meetings? Is there one thing that everyone struggles with?
Yep, it is. I wouldn't say everyone. I would say the main is knowing the difference between presenting and a meeting. So that 90-second. The 90-second. Yep, just talking on and on and on. And I think some of that happens because of just even when we're face to face. As leaders, we need to know that good leaders ask good questions.
Lauren asked, can you go over the role of the producer again?
All right, so Lauren, Justine is the producer here. So she is the one that's looking at the questions. She's there if something happens to me, like if something isn't working for me, she can help me with it. She can pull up, Justine, I sent her my slides. We went over the agenda. We got together. We were on here Ellen and I were on here 25 minutes ahead of time, and Justine was on at least 20 minutes ahead. So that we could just talk through things, how it's going to work, what it's going to do. So she's there. It's a lot like a radio producer, and she can give ideas and thoughts. And Michelle, interrupt me. Hey, Michelle, so-and-so asked a question. Also, we normally have a producer so that if, say, Lauren, that you can't make your audio work, right? Justine is there to help you make the audio work, so I don't have to worry about it. Right? I can keep going because there's another 21 people that are on the call. Does that help, Lauren?
Let me unmute.
Okay. Oh, she answered. She said yes. I can see there. Yeah. Good.
All right. And then Tom had a question that was, what do you think is the best platform? GoToMeeting, WebEx, Zoom, or other?
All right, so Tom, the two, and I would say again, it depends on the purpose. The two that I'm most familiar with are WebEx and Zoom. WebEx for Dale, because I train for Dale Carnegie globally as well, and they like WebEx. There is a lot you can do on WebEx when it comes to the whiteboard and the drawing and the polls and stuff like that. There's a lot you can do on WebEx. And if you have more than, I'd say, 35, well, no, maybe even 45 people, then WebEx works really, really well. And you have a producer. And so we use WebEx a lot for our training. But again, that's what I'm familiar with. Now, for me and my personality, for these types of meetings, I like Zoom. I've been running my training on Zoom locally here, and it's purely because you can see each other, and we need to create that safety for the Dale Carnegie programs because growth and comfort cannot coexist. So for all the programs we facilitate, people need to get outside their comfort zone and take some pretty big risks. So to me, that Zoom where you can see everybody and have all the webcams on, then you can create an environment where people feel safe and are willing to take risks. But it depends. Again, it depends on the purpose. Those are just my 2 cents. Does that make sense, Tom? Does that answer your question? Okay,
Sounds
good. Cool beans.
So, Michelle,
Yeah, Molly?
so your comments about Zoom, go to meeting and go to webinar, depending on what you want to do, are 2 different things. Is Zoom the same way, where there's a Zoom for larger audiences and then a Zoom for smaller meetings?
No, all the differences, what you want to pay for. If you get the free Zoom, you can have meetings that are 40 minutes long and that's it, and there's a limited number of people who can join. If you pay per month, which I think I pay maybe $15 per month, then you can have up to 100 people, and you can go into the settings and do the breakout rooms and everything like that. Now, I'm sure the go-to webinar training probably has more options than Zoom. Again, and I know there's Zoom bombing. That's something to keep in mind, Tom. Let me look up. I see. Oh, I don't know if I can see where you work, but like I work a lot with Great America in Cedar Rapids, and they're hesitant. They talk financials and leases on their meetings, so they haven't been using Zoom. Maybe for fun things, right? For just regular meetings. But if it's anything that has to be confidential because of the whole Zoom bombing thing that happened. And I don't know if you guys heard about that random people were figuring out ways to get on Zoom. They say they fixed it. I did have to download something last weekend. So maybe it's okay now, but that's something to keep in mind too. All right, it looks like we have time for one more question. Oh, we are done. We're out of time here. I'm glad to see there's still so many people still on. And I sure hope this was helpful.
Michelle, I have to compliment you. This past week, those people that are on the call, Michelle did a managing stress and anxiety on Tuesday. That is on our website. If you haven't seen it, I highly encourage you to. I've got great takeaways from that. And I want to talk to my staff about that because, everybody's really dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety now, and wonderful tips. Today, as well, if you want, these will be available to you. They're recorded. You go to the Chamber website and you can go back and review the tips and strategies. Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you, Chamber members, for joining us. Stay safe, stay strong. Let's stay in business together. Have a great Thursday.
All right. Bye-bye.